When you have children, it's over. I mean, no wonder nobody wants to have children any longer, right? It's not about right or wrong anymore. We cannot use anything, any person, any circumstance, anything that has happened in the past or happening right in front of us, letting that being the excuse to close our heart off. I am willing to touch life. I am willing to taste life. I am willing to feel life. You are actually unconsciously saying yet you are unworthy the moment you decide to close your heart. And that untouchable wisdom. I allow my emotions to flow through me. I am poised in life because I am the goal. I am the flow of letting go. I am willing to learn from life. I am willing to grow with life. I am willing to listen to life. I am willing to hear life. I am willing to see life. I am willing to touch life. I am willing to taste life. I am willing to feel life. I am willing to breathe life. I am life. Hey there. Welcome to day 23. 23 days ago, more than 3 weeks ago, I have started this wonderful YouTube challenge where I committed myself to one simple thing, really. I said every day I create and upload one video. I have no structure, I created no plan. I was just kind of curious what happens when I just turn on the camera and I just start to talk. Whatever it is, it comes to my heart, right? It comes from my heart and to my mind, I should rather say. So today is day 23. So welcome. And as I said, in day 22, let me get a sip. Day 22, we were talking about the truth about relationships. And as I said in that video, in the end of the video, this is probably going to have part 2. But I will see how it goes and how it feels. Well, in the end of the video, it kind of was still the same. And now that I'm sitting here, things haven't changed. So this is going to be the truth about relationships, part 2, new energy relationships. And as I was reflecting, this is why I was really wondering if this is really going to be a part 2, because as I was reflecting on the video of day 22, I was realizing we already have covered a lot of things that are really important when it comes to really creating the relationship that we seek, and what relationships are actually truly about, and how every challenge and every problem in a relationship is really coming about. And so I was wondering if this is going to be part 2, then how much more would they be to say, right? But then I quickly realized, well, there could be a whole lot more to say, because we can approach this from so many different angles. That's how it feels, at least right now. And today I want to just start by really touching on where we kind of left off yesterday. And this is what makes a new energy relationship, right? So, well, first of all, it does not mean that you are perfect, that you are perfectly, never reacting, never having a limiting emotion again, never reacting to your partner again, never reacting to a friend again, never being triggered again. That doesn't mean that at all. But new energy relationship means that now two awakened beings, when we kind of consider now a romantic relationship, for example, two awakened people are now kind of in that relationship. It's not any longer a model of relationship where two people are not awakened, where programs kind of talk to each other, where programs kind of fight each other. But a new energy relationship, the basis of that, I would say, is, and what makes this even a new energy relationship is the people in that relationship are awakened people. Okay, so far so good, but what does that mean, right? As I said, it does not mean at all that you're not having limiting emotions again, or not finding out that you still have triggers or something like that, because it's not. Being awakened and being in a new energy relationship is truly, and it doesn't matter if this is a relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, or whatever kind of relationship, right? But it doesn't mean that you're not having those limiting emotions again, but it means that you are awakened, and that means you know how to handle that, right? So when then two people are in a relationship that I would call new energy relationship, it means those people are doing the work of an awakened person. So what is the work of an awakened person? Well, the work of an awakened person is to come more and more into alignment with who they truly are. So an awakened person walking through life, coming up against challenges, never points fingers, as we talked about in day 22. That person sees every challenge as an opportunity to release more of the stuff that has never belonged in the first place into that system, and is doing the work to release that in order to come more fully to who they truly are, in order to kind of transform the vessel, if I can put it like that, more into a vessel that reflects then more and more and more the truth that is actually behind the scenes. And to understand that, we have to understand actually one simple thing. I mean, every person who is walking the path of conscious awakening, and I say it that way because we are actually all on a path, right? I mean, you're incarnated on this earth and you are on the path. If you know it or not, doesn't really matter. You are walking the path, right? But the difference is that when you're consciously walking the path, well, then you know, you've kind of already have come to the realization of who you truly are. And you're now, as I said, on that path of conscious awakening, meaning you're deliberately releasing everything that is a lie, everything that is not you, until nothing remains left but the truth. And so being in a new energy relationship requires really one, probably the most important thing, and that is letting everyone off the hook. Let everyone off the hook. So people in a new energy relationship are not pointing fingers any longer. When something really comes up that stirs something within them, they know that the most important thing why that happens is so you yourself can see that this is there, because the journey of the awakened being is the journey of releasing what is a lie. So everything that is triggering something within you is kind of the greatest opportunity ever to release even more that you maybe have not been able to see if that wouldn't have happened. And then that does not mean at all that you say, okay, I prefer when people like that, or people that I love, or people that I love behave like that. Because it has nothing to do anymore with right or wrong. Because people who are truly walking the path of conscious awakening, as I believe, and then therefore are in new energy relationships where each part of the relationship is kind of walking that path, right? For them, it's not about right or wrong anymore. Because being wrong, who is guilty, who did the right thing, that comes from a model of reality where we're always in this kind of space where we need to find someone who's guilty, right, in order to kind of punish someone, because we may have to make an example, so this will never happen again, right? This comes from this old model of thinking that this is the only way we can prevent that thing from happening again. But an awakened being is awakened to that lie, is awakened to the truth that this is a lie. Because trying to prevent something like that only brings you more of what you're trying to avoid. And an awakened person knows that. So an awakened person knows, when you kind of think about it, it's not about right or wrong anymore. It is truly not. It is about knowing how it works that we create a reality. It is about understanding how this physical apparatus of ours works. It is about knowing and understanding how energies actually work, what energies truly are, what we truly are. I mean, when we're not the body, when we're not the thoughts in our head, when we're not the emotions, when we're none of that, then what truly are we, right? I mean, we're not even, if you want to be really accurate and think about it, then we're not even the energy itself, but we are the consciousness that is kind of setting energy in motion. And I really believe at this point in my journey, we could even go to an even broader perspective where we probably could even say we're not even the consciousness. But that is something different now, because that would require even broader view. And then the question comes up, does that view support us right here and now in the game we're playing right now? Because now we're here on Earth, we're awakened to the fact that we're here in this game. Even in this game, we're not our bodies, we are more than our bodies. So in this game, there is this consciousness creating this body and everything in this life that this being is kind of experiencing. And people that are awakened, that are walking the path of conscious awareness, when they're truly on the path and doing the work, as I call it, doing the work, then they know that to some degree, to such a degree at least, that they know that there is no point in pointing fingers, and it is really not about right or wrong anymore. So when we face a challenge in the past, so to say, how humanity was handling it, or up until this point is handling it, it was like, there is a challenge and we need to find out who is wrong to make this person, this community, or this thing pay for it in order to kind of avoid that this will happen again. And this is how we create change. And that is actually not at all how it works. But I think we've experienced that so many times now that this is one of the reasons probably why we are all awakening, right? So an awakened being knows every challenge is just the opportunity to create a greater life for all of us. Every challenge is just the opportunity to become even more of who we truly are, and create more of who we truly are, and therefore kind of improve our experience, kind of become even more joyful, more loving, kind of create a life that is more and more, as we kind of further walk down that path in alignment with who we truly are. And where is the end? Well, obviously there is no end to it, right? Because I mean, why would you ever stop playing, right? I mean, you experience something and you feel this beautiful feeling of fulfillment because of just experiencing creation, right? As who you truly are. And out of that experience itself comes a new inspiration, a new desire. And this is an ongoing process, whether here on Earth or far beyond, when we're then leaving the body, expanding all consciousness kind of. And So people that are in a new energy relationship know it is not about right or wrong anymore. And it's also not about being perfect. So imagine how conversations would look like, right? When in the past it looked like fighting and trying to be right and making the other person wrong and wanting the other person to change so I can feel better. When that all falls away, but you're still a human that is still releasing old stuff, right? It's still being triggered. So then how does the conversation look, right? When each part knows how it works, when each part is so mature in their emotions, when they are so mature and kind of so wise in the way they act, they handle everything that comes up with them, that, then those relationships have to transform in something more beautiful. Because we will then be able to connect on a deeper level, because there is no point and no reason at all anymore to kind of build walls around our hearts. Because an awakened person also knows, in a new energy relationship especially, we gotta keep the heart open. We cannot use anything, any person, any circumstance, anything that has happened in the past or happening right in front of us, letting that being the excuse to close our heart off. Think about it, closing our heart is only doing ourselves harm and the way we experience life. And then of course, when our energy is kind of more closed off and more kind of limited to limiting experiences and emotions, everyone we come in touch with is not really supported in their awakening, right? Except maybe for the fact that they see that that's not what they want. And that can be a support in and of itself. Okay, yes, but when you truly want to be someone that's uplifting, and usually awakened people, that's a natural desire of awakened people, especially in their own relationships, then closing of your heart is, that's unworthiness in and of itself. Because you say, something happened and I use something that happened outside of me as an excuse to receive less than I am worth. So you are actually unconsciously saying you are unworthy the moment you decide to close your heart, and that you are not worthy to receive from now on to a certain degree maybe. But there is the question, is there a certain degree, or is there? Because in my point of view, you either feel confident or you don't, right? And sometimes it feels like you're more confident, and sometimes you feel like you feel less confident. But is it really that way? Or is it just in that moment you weren't feeling confident, and in that moment you were feeling confident, and in the next moment you realize, no, now I'm feeling confident. I thought from this point of view this is feeling confident, but now that I have grown, I realized that was not confident at all. You know what I'm getting at? And I think the same goes for closing your heart. I don't truly believe that there is a degree to closing your heart. I think you close your heart or you don't. Probably what there is that you maybe have kind of created some kind of belief system in and of itself to where it is important to close your heart. And maybe you have not just allowed yourself in your life in general to know how it truly feels to have your heart wide open. So the same with the confidence thing is, you do one thing and you think that it is out of an open heart, and from a perspective from the person you were before, it might be a little bit more open, but from that next moment perspective that is a person that is already leveling up, so to say, that person is then realizing, looking back, now my heart was really closed. You know what I'm getting at? And I think we decide actually in any moment, heart open or heart closed, heart open and heart closed. And I think as I now tune into that, what we might experience is to which maybe the degree the body or your whole system is kind of able to translate that open heart without closing it immediately out of fear again. When you're, let's say your heart is open and you receive an idea, and that idea causes emotions from the past to come up and triggers, and things are being triggered, and then you close off your heart to that idea, for example. Well, then you could say, well, my heart is open to a degree, but actually your heart was open up until a trigger was showing itself that this was your limit to which you can really consistently keep that heart open, because that is what it's about, right? Keeping your heart open in any moment of your life. And with that comes, of course, the ability to actually realize how it feels when the heart is open. And since we've not been trained into that, as we grow up, this is probably a challenge that we are faced with, that we kind of see when we are there, that this is a remembering in and of itself, that we kind of have the ability to really recognize when the heart is open, because the ego can sometimes fool us into believing, well, my heart is wide open, because it kind of connects certain behaviors to an open heart. But you can imitate behavior, and behind the scenes, the energy is actually very different, Like someone can tell you, I love you, but the energy is not, I love you. It's like the same, right? And so awakened people know that this is part of the game, that the heart has to be open, and that we cannot use the behavior of another person in a relationship in order to excuse ourselves to close our hearts and to kind of close off to the world, right? So that is the most important thing. So letting everyone off the hook, because it's not about right or wrong. It's a different game now. A new energy relationship plays the same kind of game here on earth, of course, but from a different perspective. And you could also say from a different point of view, or even from a different level of awakening, right? And I mean, again, imagine how that would look, when you kind of know everything that you talk about, everything that you think about, everything that you act upon, and everything that you are kind of creates your reality. So fighting, there is no point in that, because you create more of the same. I mean, judging someone, there is no point in that, because you're creating more of the same. So all the things that we usually thought are a healthy conversation in a relationship, because you just had to talk something out of your chest, you now understand, well, that is actually not how it works as an awakened being, because I cannot talk about things that I do not want to experience. And when you know that, I mean, all those things we used to talk in relationships fall away. Then, I mean, imagine how that would be, how that would look. And I really have experienced it that way. And I know this can be really uplifting. Each and every part of the relationship taking responsibility for their own. But, be careful, because the ego often kind of shoots at the other person saying, well, you create your own reality, and that I do that has something to do with you. And I mean, that's probably right, but we don't use that for the ego to excuse itself again to be mean, to be, I don't know, not awakened. So consider this, you're in a relationship and there is this challenge, and each person in that relationship is awakened, and they are kind of taking full responsibility for the trigger. And not only that, they're even so mature and kind of handling their whole being, the body, the emotion, the belief system, that they are even managing already to maybe even be grateful for the person in front of them for triggering them, because we know how it works. And on soul level agreement, so to say, we often agree to trigger that. So why would you kind of be mad at that person when you understand you're playing now from a broader perspective, and this was actually maybe even agreed upon, And imagine how that looks, we connect when it doesn't matter if it's a romantic relationship or any other relationship, when we are able to kind of communicate like that, we connect way deeper. We truly connect, actually. We truly feel each other. Nobody is judging. Every emotion is allowed, but nobody is throwing their stuff onto the other person. But everything is allowed to be to be seen, you know, and to be held in a space that just shines light on it, and everybody sees their part in it. And this is not about everybody is all the time kind of apologizing, because we're not even playing that guilt game anymore. It's not about that. And that also doesn't mean that you're not supposed to apologize, but sometimes it just feels good to let the other person know, oh my goodness, I see that this is not the way I want to behave. But there has to come to a point where we stop to feel guilt, and we have this need to, so we don't feel the guilt, we need the other person to kind of forgive us so we can release the guilt. And that is the guilt shame again, and that is, an awakened person doesn't need that any longer. You know, they just acknowledge it's just not the way I want to handle things. And I mean, imagine how beautiful relationships become that way, right? Where everyone, each and every part is just taking full responsibility for their own behavior and what their own behavior caused even in the other person, and what their own behavior caused maybe in the world or in the circumstance. Or imagine everybody is just doing that without placing guilt on themselves, which is a very important part. It's not about, oh my God, yes, it's all my fault. And to me, that is such a beautiful imagination, and I think we really should shoot for that, because this is how we truly connect. And I mean, you don't have to be perfect, right? Maybe you're in a position where this trigger is so intense, you just cannot sit in front of the other person, right? I mean, even though you know it's not you and there is a program heavily running right through your body right now, even though you know that, well, it seems like you're so in the fire, you can do nothing about that but kind of allow that, you know? Well, when that's the case, well, then we have to be courageous enough and kind of bold enough to really recognize that, and to stop anything in that energy, in that state of being, and just detach and just acknowledge, oh my goodness, I need space now. I need to release that. Because usually the way people release that, at least for the moment until someone else triggers it again, is they throw it onto someone else. The system needs to get this kind of anywhere so it can how do you say it, collapse in some shape or form, right? But there is another way. You can become aware even of that, and then you do what you gotta do. You do the work, right? Until this is released, until you are able then to have maybe a conversation or connect with the other person again. And we have to decide that for ourselves. We cannot allow those programs to decide when it's now time to throw something at someone and when it's now time to kind of be silent, you know. You have to be so aware of your programs that you, even if the programs are running kind of heavily, intensely, that you are able to detach yourself, and that you're just kind of bold enough to, maybe you reacted for a moment, but you just say, okay, wait a minute. You just decide, wait, this is not how I want to react or want to be. This is not my state of being. This is not loving to me, you know. And this is all you need to know. And then, first of all, everything the voices are saying is not true. When you know you're not in your natural state of being, you're kind of in a state that is actually not loving, then you know also everything that is coming up right now is not the truth. It's just a lie coming out of those emotions, out of survival mode, out of those fears, you know. And awakened people know that to such a degree that they are really willing to take full responsibility and to just not need the other person to kind of soothe them, you know, or do something so they feel better. They just do the work. And if they need space, they take the time and space, they release it, and then they show themselves again in that game and in those relationships. And I think that is what truly is the basis of a new energy relationship. Two people, or at least two people that are awakened beings walking the path of conscious awakening. They have decided to stop pointing fingers, doing the work, because their game now is a different one. The game of awakening, it's not about, it's a different one, you know. It's about becoming more fully who you truly are in any given moment, no matter how that looks. If it comes through a challenge, if it comes through something beautiful unfolding, you know, if it comes through a mystical experience, no matter how it comes, everything is an opportunity to become more of yourself and to live more fully your truth. And is an opportunity to create even more the life that you love, right? That is more a match to who you truly are. And I truly believe that is kind of the foundation of a new energy relationship. And when we do that, really, we do not have to be perfect. When we do that, things will change. Things will change. The way we communicate change, the way we handle our emotions change, the way we think changes, the way we see the world changes, the way we see our partner changes, the way we see relationship changes, and we will come up to a lot of things, and probably are really face them with a lot of lies that we have been living for so long, that we now have the choice to decide differently, because now we see more clearly, right? And as we do so, I think we shift and move more and more towards this new energy world, right? That is based on unconditional love and on freedom and on joy and passion and inspiration and who you truly are, right? Who you truly are. This is such a beautiful topic. I even in the so-called past, I really thought a lot about that. Actually, I really imagined a lot a world. How must that look, right? Or even a world where we raise our children like that, whole different values, a whole new point of view, actually, a whole new way of being, a whole new way of handling things. And I mean, what does that bring forth? Well, this is the beauty for us to kind of discover now, right? We are the ones that are creating that now. And this is kind of scary sometimes, because now we are the ones that are responsible, right? And to the ego, that is a threat. The ego was kind of raised up until this point into a system that is always pointing fingers at someone. I mean, if this is not going well, then it's the government. If this is not going, people always, and when you ask themselves, they are glad that they don't have to make the decisions, right? But they are happily kind of judging everyone. But actually, when you think about it, they are kind of glad that they can stay in the back and they do not have to make such big decisions as kind of in politics or wherever people have to make decisions, right? And so we judge, but we don't want to change, and we don't want to be bold enough to do it differently, make different decisions, because, well, we don't know where we're going, right? Then we would be in the unknown and this could go wrong, all those kinds of fears that are coming up. And this is truly changing now, because now truly we're kind of forced to, because the earth has lifted, right? So the energy is kind of asking, kind of demanding even from us. And this is only coming from our own desire. This is not something that is happening to us. It's kind of demanding from us to kind of do it differently, right? Everything here on this planet, the earth itself. But the truth is, it's not anything outside of us that's doing that. Each and every being that ever has lived here on the planet, even when they experience challenges, you cannot have shoot out desires, how you actually prefer it to be, even if you're not aware of. This means each and every being that is experiencing something is at the same time communicating to, let's say, the universe or life, kind of giving the information if that is really suitable, if that is how, do you know where I'm getting at? And because this is really important, because this is why generations experience a better life than generations before. Because each and every being that is experiencing is in any given moment kind of communicating with all there is, whether this is a match to who we truly are or not. And everything is kind of trying to align and kind of help us as beings then in those bodies to kind of get to that point. So even if you don't know, even if you have an experience, you don't even have to be human, really. You can be the tiniest cell, so to say, and you have an experience and you are communicating with life. And let's say you're a human being and you experience a challenge, and even if you don't know it, you have on some level the idea of how it is that you prefer it, even if you're not aware of it, because you maybe still more unconscious. But this is happening. This is truly happening in real time in any given moment, and you're communicating with life. And this is how the energy also shifts, because when then the beings in those bodies release because they die, then more of the resistance that has caused that from hindering it coming to life leaves the planet, and the planet has more the opportunity to express now more of that new energy. And that is why usually the elderlies, done the work, so to say, and then those new beings come in and they are resistance free at the moment they come here, more than when you are already on the planet, and they are able to allow that new energy in and bring already a new energy with them and a whole different consciousness. You know where I'm getting at? Does this make any sense to you? So you cannot. So if you, for example, are in a relationship and you are experiencing the relationship that's actually not the truth to you, then even if you don't know it, you kind of communicate that with life, and life reflects that back immediately. The only question is, are you the one that is able to kind of perceive it in that life and receive it in that life and embody it in that life? And this has everything to do with being able to release their own resistance. And up until this point, people had to really die and come maybe back, and Abraham Hicks puts it really so beautifully, and I already have said that before. They say this is a time where you don't have to croak anymore to get what you want. You don't. Because now you're in this being, you're shooting out those rockets, and you are able to do the work as an awakened being to release that resistance, so you are able to receive that which is it is that you desire. That which it is that you desire. So to come back to new energy relationships in particular, I think there is this point, maybe you already made the choice, but there is this point, you just have to make the choice. If you want to live that old model of reality, or if you want to tap into the unknown and create new relationships in a whole new way. So we can learn or remember to communicate in a different way. And you get to choose. You can play the same for a little longer if you want to. If you say, no, that's not for me. But you have to make the choice. We all have to make the choice. And when we make the choice, yes, that's what we want, because actually we want true love. We want to be in a relationship and don't feel hostage. Right? We want to have children and don't feel hostage. I mean, it's the saddest thing to me that so many people all the time, they tell me, when you have children, it's over. I mean, no wonder nobody wants to have children any longer, right? I mean, and then you can argue, yes, certain things you cannot do, but boy, is that boring. Why can't we just stop thinking in that same loop? It's not about that. Life can be fun again. Life can be joyful again. Life can be passionate again. And life is in every moment of our life supposed to be amazing to us. And yes, we also maybe have limiting emotions that we feel for a moment, but we know then how we're to release that now. And so we have a whole new quality of living life. And you can have the most fulfilling relationship and you can be free. I mean, imagine that. You can have children and you can still be free and do what you love. Imagine that. And you can raise children that are becoming creators themselves. When we only release all the lies we place onto our children, right? And when we kind of raise them into something that gives us then the life that we cannot live our life freely. Then we kind of judge again anyone else because I have children, I can't do that. All those things it's only talking about that, it's exhausting, guys, isn't it? I mean, but this is not the truth. Honestly, this is not the truth. You can have a fulfilling relationship and build a life with a partner, and still be free to do whatever it is your desire. And that begs the question then, when we think, oh no, being in a relationship causes me to give up on certain things. Is then the relationship even something that we desire? Or is it something that we just think that needs to be done because we hold fears, we don't want to die alone? But now you're awakened, and even that you have to take a new look on, a new point of view, because now you're not even dying, because no one ever died, right? Everything, as you are awakened and walking this life like that, you really stumble upon every lie and you think, oh, then that's not true too. You make it nonsensical and you release, I have to create a greater perspective of that. Well, not even create, but kind of choose a greater perspective of that. Because when you understand there is no death, then you sooner or later, depending on how much you actually take to release that, then you cannot be afraid any longer of dying alone. So a lot of things you realize will not make any sense anymore. And you can have a fulfilling relationship and you can be free. Of course. And both each part can do what it is they desire without being in fear that they will lose each other, because it doesn't make not sense in the first place. It comes from an old structure that really, if you think about it, even with your egoic mind, if you look at it from today's point of view, doesn't make sense. Because if it is what you want, then it is part of your desire and it is part of your life journey, right? And why would we make a separation there? We have been trained to make all those separations. There is work and there is hobby and there is this and there are children, and this is all your life, and you are choosing that you want that, and this is part of what your passion is and your desire. And if you're not able to treat it that way, then it begs the question, then are you doing what you really love to do? Or are you just following society's rules like a puppet in your own game, right? Wow. I leave it to that for now. And I really want to read one more time Untouchable Wisdom, which is the fourth painting of the series True Divine Power. It's not really the last one. It's not like it is the fourth in the series of 4 paintings. But it's the fourth that I'm reading to you now, because all the other 3 you already know, right? And it kind of fits into the theme, because it's about untouchable wisdom, right? At some point you just gotta know so much. You'll be okay being the only one existing knowing, right? And wisdom, true wisdom, is untouchable. It is. So with that, you are invited to close your eyes and to take a deep breath in right through the heart. Hold it and out. Deep breath in right through the heart. Hold it and out. Let's take another deep breath in right through the heart. Hold it and out. Keep your eyes closed and just listen to those words. And allow those words to just move through you and just remind you of your own truth. Untouchable wisdom. I allow my emotions to flow through me. I am poised in life because I know I am the goal. I am the flow of letting go. I am willing to learn from life. I am willing to grow with life. I am willing to listen to life. I am willing to hear life. I am willing to see life. I am willing to touch life. I am willing to taste life. I am willing to feel life. I am willing to breathe life because I am life. Take a deep breath in right through the heart. Hold it. And exhale. Release, release, release. I mean, if we take this wisdom into every beautiful corner of our life, especially into our relationships, right? I mean, what magic we are able to create then for ourselves, the people we love, the community we're in, the whole wide world, the whole universe, and honestly, ultimately, all of creation. Because it always goes beyond. Don't make the mistake to believe that what you're doing does not affect anyone. It does affect your life, your being, the people around you, the people in the world, the universe. Everything you're affecting is actually, you're doing is actually affecting all of creation, even beyond planet Earth. I mean, imagine that, right? But I don't want to scare you. It's not to put pressure on you, but it's to realize you are important. What you think, what you do, how you act, how you feel, how you handle your emotions, how you treat the ones you love, everything that is coming with the way you are, what you're expressing here in life is very important for all of us. For all of us. So, thank you for tuning in. I enjoyed this conversation so much. And maybe there is going to be another part in another video where we talk from a different perspective of it. Maybe questions come up. If you have a question, if you want to share something, if you want to share your thoughts on something about that topic or anything, let me know in the comments below. All right, and if you like that, if this resonates with you, let me know. Give me a thumb up, let me know. Contribute. Let's lift each other up. Let's let the other know when they do something that we really liked and enjoyed and benefited from, And you might want to consider subscribing to my channel as well if you haven't done so yet. And if you want to, and if you feel called to follow my social media channels, I put all the links, as I always like to say, in the description box down below, so you can have easily access to it and check out what else I'm doing. So. And yes, and of course, if it resonates truly and deeply with you, and if you feel called to, you always have the opportunity to support my journey. And if you do so, I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And for that, I put the link in the description box down below as well. So, my gorgeous soul, remember, you are important, and what you have to say matters. You're worthy of your own sound, your own truth, your own voice. You are worthy now. We all are. I see you for day 24. Have a gorgeous time. Bye. Mm-hmm.